Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Thoughts of a King. It's your boy John Freeman, aka The King. This is my first full-length video that I'm uploading on YouTube. Thank you all for watching. We're talking about today my top 10 favorite Marvel movies. I've been into comics my entire life thanks to my father. I read them to this day digitally. I still like to read them. I'm intrigued. I've been reading them for many years. And for me, Marvel movies coming out is like a dream come true. It's a lot of my favorite characters that I've read growing up coming to life. And of course, what would a top 10 Marvel movie, video be if I didn't wear any of the Marvel stuff? So sit back and relax. Now, these are my top 10 choices. A lot of people's choices will be different from mine, but these are mine. I hope you enjoy this, and for everyone who's watching, please like, subscribe, and share so everyone can enjoy this as well. Let's hop into it. So starting the top 10 is Ant-Man. Now, people are probably like, oh, Ant-Man, why Ant-Man? Ant-Man has been a low-key favorite of mine, only because his power set is unique. He can be, small, he can be big. And I always enjoy watching iterations. My two favorite iterations of Ant-Man, of course, is Hank Pym and Scott Lang. I read them growing up, and to see it live action, I was very curious on how they were going to do it. I love the explanation of, they didn't write Hank Pym out. They gave Hank Pym his superhero story or background in the beginning, how he was Ant-Man early on in the days. But of course, he got older, he couldn't do it anymore, and he sought out Scott Lang to pick up the mantle as Ant-Man. I think the balance of action and comedy was hilarious. My favorite part of the movie is when he fought the Falcon, Anthony Mackie, and I think it was just the greatest thing ever, because watching the chemistry between those two was funny. And then of course Falcon lost, and how he told them not to tell Captain America about the experience was even funny. And of course, speaking of funny moments, we cannot forget about Michael Pena. How funny was he in the movie explaining things? He was kind of like that nice little balance between himself and Paul Rudd, and I believe the whole cast was just great. And even though we had Yellow Jacket as the protagonist of the movie, watching Scott Lang come into fruition as being Ant-Man was great. And the follow-up, Ant-Man and the Wasp, even though it's not on my list, it is one of my favorite ones to watch. And it was just a great, well-together movie. And then seeing him in the Avengers movies was even awesome. So we can't beat that. So starting off the list, Ant-Man, number 10. And my number 9 choice is Iron Man 3. Iron Man 1, Iron Man 2, and then there's Iron Man 3. In all those iterations of the movies, in Iron Man 1 and 2, we saw him come into his own kind of as, Iron Man. And he started, the whole MCU. He started Iron Man 1 as, I am Iron Man. In Iron Man 2, we see him, try to cope with the mere fact that he could possibly be dying from the thing that he enjoys being, Iron Man. And then we get to Iron Man 3. Iron Man 3 takes place after the Avengers. So he is basically post-traumatic stress. He's, not himself. He can't sleep. He's tinkering. He's doing what he loves to do. He builds, he creates all these Iron Man suits, which I thoroughly enjoy. Reading the comic books and then, seeing the armory in real life was fantastic. And FYI, the skeleton Iron Man suit is hands down one of my favorite designs. I thought it was awesome to see in real life. Dope. But big part in this movie was he became the mechanic. For the first time, we see Iron Man not being able to use his suit. So he has to turn back into Tony Stark, the brilliant creator and the tinkerer. He had to figure out how to beat the bad guys without his suit. So it was actually pretty good to see him adapt to a different environment without his tech. His house blew up, so he couldn't call his other armor. Jarvis wasn't there, so he had to figure out a way to be Iron Man, but without the suit. and I think that was fantastic. It was a good arc for him, and it was a good way to end his series as he ventured more into, Captain America's and of course the Avengers. But Iron Man 3 is one of my favorites, and that's why I got the 9th spot. Speaking of Avengers is number 8 for me. I was ecstatic for the Avengers movie. I believe I saw it 4 times in the movie theaters. I thought it was great. I love how Marvel brought them all together. I enjoyed, watching all 6 come together and, fight Loki and Thanos' army. We have, the Trinity, we have Captain America, Thor, and Iron Man. Of course, those 3 start off fighting, but then they had to come together for a common goal to stop the Chitauri from taking over New York. And it was amazing to see them come together and actually win. I believe it was a well put together movie. It was basically watching the comic books come to life, and I thoroughly enjoyed the experience. As I said, I saw it a lot of times in movie theaters, and I'm pretty sure a lot of people saw it too. And that was just the beginning of what we got, years after that. And of course, we can't forget that for the first time in that movie, we saw our big bad Thanos, played by a different character, but we still got to see him, and I was super excited, and for all those who read comic books, for him to say, fighting them is like courting death, and watching him turn his head and grin, that was dope for me. So that's why Avengers gets number 8. Coming in at number 7 is Thor Ragnarok. Let's all be honest with each other. Thor 1 was okay. Thor 2, not so much. But Thor 3 Ragnarok, my God, knocked it out of the park. It kind of made up for the first 2 movies that came out. It kind of gave us that real version of Thor. Like, let's all be honest. Thor Ragnarok, when we all walked out of theaters with it, was just like, thank you, God, we didn't get a third Thor movie that was not as good as we expected to be. Me and my best friend saw in movie theaters, as he calls it, Hulk in space. And, Bruce Banner, Hulk, played by Mark Ruffalo, my God, was just amazing. It was kind of like, Marvel was like, okay, Thor, this is your 3rd movie, but Hulk, this is your kind of 1st movie, even though a lot of people keep forgetting that there is a Hulk standalone movie in the beginning of the MCU, but for some reason people don't talk about that. That's one of my favorites, but I can't argue with anybody. But watching the the action between Thor and the Hulk, of course we all remember that scene in the stadium where Thor is so happy to see the Hulk, but then they get into a fight, and then we actually get to see a little bit of intelligence coming from the Hulk, because he's still in Hulk form and he's talking. He's very he's getting the articulate side coming out, and he's ruling right now as the champion, and it's great. Like, I love that they put Planet Hulk in this movie with a Thor movie. Like, that was very smart on Marvel's behalf to do that, putting 2 basic comic books together and making this phenomenal movie. We go from Thor movies being dark and gloomy to bright with colors and everything like that, and in this arc we get to see Thor kind of live up to the mantle of God of Thunder. Now, we all know that he thought that the hammer was his source of power, and his father Odin goes, are you the God of hammers, or are you the God of thunder? And for the first time, we actually get to see him tap into his powers. Him fighting at the end, seeing the lightning come out sporadically and just destroying enemies was great. The main protagonist, Hela, was amazing. It was kind of cool how they put in there that they didn't even know that Loki and Thor didn't even know they had a sister, and she was around before they were, and her and Odin was just wrecking people. It was just, again, a great way to, it was kind of like a, Marvel saying, okay, listen, we messed up with the first 2, here's this one, I hope you all liked it, and that's why it gets the spot that it does. Okay, and coming in the number 6 spot, we have the first Guardians of the Galaxy. My God, was I super excited for this movie when it first came out. I saw this movie on my birthday weekend, and it was everything that I wanted to be. Again, reading the comic books, seeing the Guardians of the Galaxy come to life was phenomenal. from Chris Pratt all the way to the voice acting of Vin Diesel and Bradley Cooper as Groot and Rocket Raccoon. And in this movie in particular, I really like is because we got to see a little bit more of Thanos. It was great to actually see Thanos instead of little hints here and there. We got to see him in all his glory, sitting on his throne in outer space, plotting and scheming to get the Infinity Stones. This time he relied on Gamora, to infiltrate and get the stone, but she had her own little plot that she wanted to do. And of course he had Ronan. Ronan in the comic books is a beast, and in the movies he seemed inevitably a beast as well. I would love to have seen him do a lot more, but for what we got, it was amazing. And of course, let's not forget, this was Marvel's first deep dive into outer space. We will get more of outer space things in the future. I'm hoping, fingers crossed, when they do the Fantastic Four, they introduce Galactus and the Silver Surfer. This will take us more into outer space. But for now, it was our first introduction into outer space, and they knocked it out the park. The colors, that they used, the comedy, Chris Pratt stole the show and majority of all the scenes in the movie. He can be comical, but then also shows him being very serious as too. So Guardians of the Galaxy for me, I have no problem with this movie whatsoever. I think it was amazing, well put together, and every actor in there had his own little piece. And of course, we got the introduction of Baby Groot at the end. So everyone still to this day talks about either Baby Groot or Baby Yoda. Who's cuter? I'm going with Groot on this one. Okay, now we're getting into our top 5. We're going to start it off with Captain America: Civil War. Oh my God, did I love seeing this movie. It came out around Mother's Day. I remember me and my mother went to go see it together because I dragged her into comic book movies, and she loves comic book movies as well. And my God, was it absolutely everything I wanted it to be. From the action to the introduction of all the new superheroes, Black Panther, the Spider-Man. It was amazing. Reading comic books, reading the original Civil War storyline. When I first heard that it was coming out with Civil War, I was trying to figure out how they're going to do the anti-mutant registration, but they couldn't use it because they didn't have the rights for it yet. They do now, but they didn't have it back then. So they came out with the Sokovia Accords, which I thought was brilliant, and the infighting fit perfectly. You have Team Captain America versus Team Iron Man. I believe, it was well put together. You introduced everyone's point of view, all the infighting, and just a spectacular fight scene at the airport was the highlight for me. They kind of caught me off guard with the whole Winter Soldier killing Tony Stark's parents. Did not see that coming whatsoever. Then you got the iconic scene where you have, Captain America putting up his shield against, Iron Man's repulsor blast that's ripped straight from the comic book at the final fight, and I thought that was great. And let's not, I already talked about it, but let's talk about the introductions of, two of the Avengers who are going to join later on, Black Panther and Spider-Man. I'm happy, finally, with Spider-Man. We've had 2 Spider-Man characters beforehand who played in their own movies. I believe Tom Holland is, in my opinion, one of my favorite Spider-Mans, and of course he flourished in his next 2 movies. And let's talk about the late great Chadwick Boseman, who brought one of my favorite characters, Black Panther, to life. Oh my God, the suit was amazing. His acting was amazing. He hit it on par. And of course his fighting style, with his vibranium suit and his technology was brought to life, and I enjoyed every second of it. So number 5, Civil War. Keeping the ball rolling, we're going to go with another Captain America movie, Winter Soldier. Damn, Winter Soldier was really good, and I apologize for saying a curse word, but that's the best way I can describe it. Winter Soldier was phenomenal. And again, we got the introduction of another superhero who would join the team, Falcon. Anthony Mackie, who came in and did an amazing job playing the partner to Captain America, which was again taken from the comic books. In the comic books, Captain America and the Falcon are, best friends, and they got each other's back, and it was the same thing in this movie too. And then of course having the partnership between Black Widow and Captain America was great. And then introducing Winter Soldier, again, ripped straight from the comic books. I can't say this enough. Marvel does a great job bringing their characters to life. They have a catalog of great superheroes, and for them to just rip Winter Soldier right from the comic books, from his gear to his arm to the way that he acts, and of course we can't forget the iconic Captain America seeing Bucky for the first time in decades, saying Bucky, and then he goes, who the hell's Bucky? You can't beat that. And it was just great. And then of course we have Nick Fury doing what Nick Fury does as a spy, fakes his own death, but then he comes back to help them defeat the helicarriers from taking off and killing numerous people. And if you think really closely, when the agent was describing who they were taking out, they were doing all those Easter eggs. Bruce Banner, Doctor Strange before he became the Sorcerer Supreme, Tony Stark. And I remember I was watching the movie, and when it was doing, who they were targeting, I paused a few times, and if you really catch it really quickly, you can see, Tony Stark, you can see Bruce Banner, you can see a picture of Doctor Strange. I believe it was a different picture because they didn't cast Doctor Strange just yet, but they had a picture of Doctor Strange in there, which was pretty dope. So, Winter Soldier, number 4. Okay, now we're in our top 3, starting with Avengers Endgame. A culmination of so many movies coming to an end in Endgame. One of my favorites, that's why it's in my top 3. I thoroughly loved and enjoyed watching this movie. I saw it twice in theater. For everyone who has Disney Plus, I'm pretty sure watched it a few times. I watched it on TV, I watched it on my computer. I've watched it, over and over and over again. The storyline was fantastic. Yes, it was kind of like a homage to all the movies previous. You got to see the characters go back and visit, key points in their life. The Avengers in New York City, Thor back in Asgard. Them going to I forgot where it was. Forgive me. When they go to the Power Stone for the first time, and of course, War Machine looking at Peter Quill and going, so he's an idiot. That was hilarious. I love Don Cheadle as Rhodey in War Machine. He is perfect. The storyline of seeing Thanos come back, from the past to the future. Again, that was perfect. I didn't see it coming, and it was great, which led into, of course, the big battle, Hulk snapping everybody back. And to this day, I still get goosebumps watching when Sam hits Captain America and says, on your left, and then the portals start opening and all the characters come back, starting with, of course, Black Panther. He comes back, he looks at Captain America, he nods his head saying, you did it. You did it, you brought me back. And then leading to the big battle, and of course, Tony Stark going out like a hero, saying, I am Iron Man, was a great way to give him peace. The movie actually showed a little bit of Tony Stark, down to earth. He hasn't been in a battle since he was saved from space by Captain Marvel. So he's pretty much happy. He's with Pepper, he has his daughter, and that's it for him. But he made the ultimate sacrifice to make sure that they were safe. And Thanos was snapped out of existence, and everyone has a happy ending, and they move on with their life. Captain America getting ready to go back and actually live his life with Peggy was great. So everyone had their little bit of the Trinity actually had a little swan song, if you think about it. Tony Stark was laid to rest. He was able to finally be in peace. Captain America finally got the life that he always wanted. And of course, Thor was able to go out and then go find himself, taking the advice of his mother. So it was a great way to end the arc. And I'm really hoping that they come out with Black Widow soon, because I really want to see that movie. I'm going to go see it in the movie theaters. I don't care at this point. But that's my number 3, Endgame. Okay, going into number 2, Black Panther. As I record this, it kind of comes to mind to think that, we unfortunately don't have, the late great Chadwick Boseman reprising his role in Black Panther 2, which was one of the most highly anticipated movies I was really looking forward to, because the first Black Panther was so amazing. Like, let's think about it. This was a all black cast leading this role with Chadwick Boseman. From start to finish, it was a roller coaster ride of just brilliance. We got to see, culture aspect. We got to see great action scenes, great acting from numerous characters, from Angela Bassett. Angela Bassett is everyone's auntie. Doesn't matter. Everyone's auntie. We got to see Shuri in her laboratory. We got to see a little bit of it, in Infinity War later on, but this was like her domain. We got to see her brilliance and how smart she was, for a very young age to create new suits for, T'Challa to use, in battle. Like, she made fun of his old suit. Like, give me a moment before we fight. Let me put my helmet on. She came up with a whole new tech suit, which I thought was dope. Let's not forget about Killmonger. My God, Killmonger is by far one of my top favorite villains in the MCU. He did a great job, even though his message that he wanted to portray was full of violence. It kind of made sense if you really think about it. He wanted to share the brilliance and the weaponry of Wakanda to, get under the thumb of people who were oppressed. He was going to send this stuff out there, so people can get under the thumb and not feel so controlled anymore. And, even though a lot of people was against it, some people were for it. And if you really think about it, it's kind of understandable. So Killmonger, I wish they didn't kill off his character. I wish he would have survived and he would have been in prison, because I really would have loved to see him come back in Black Panther and play another intricate role. Like, somehow in the comic books, he's just straight up a monster. Like, he always gives Black Panther a run for his money, and my God, he gave him a run for the money in this one. He was played brilliantly, by Michael B. Jordan. Michael B. Jordan is a really good, versatile actor, and he did his thing in this movie. And again, it's sad to see that, unfortunately, we may not get, a Black Panther 2 as fast as we want, because now Disney and Marvel have to make a decision on what they're going to do to move forward. Me speaking comic book wise, I hope they follow the storyline where Shuri takes over the mantle as Black Panther. There wasn't, storyline where T'Challa was gone and Shuri picked up the mantle and she did a great job. So I hope that's the way Marvel goes. They have the source material and they have brilliant writers. So I hope that's the direction they go. But number 2, Black Panther. And coming in at number 1, this guy right here, Iron Man. I remember Iron Man coming out for the first time and the advertising for Iron Man. A lot of people didn't know who Iron Man was. And for us, hardcore comic book fans, we knew who Iron Man was. We knew his backstory. We knew everything. But he was not getting love when, he was first advertised. He was called like a B-list player. He was called an unknown character. But when the movie came out, all that went right out of the window. A lot of people were kind of apprehensive of, Robert Downey Jr. playing Tony Stark. And let's be real, after him taking this role in the first Iron Man movie, in our eyes, he's Tony Stark, and no one else can play that role better than Robert Downey Jr. playing as Tony Stark. Let's be real about this. He bought that character to me for life, from the brilliance of his mind, coming up with his tech, bringing Jarvis to life, as artificial intelligence, have Pepper Potts, the conflict between them, which really wasn't conflict. It was more, flirting back and forth. Obadiah Stane, playing the Ironmonger, the 10 Rings. We got Terrence Howard for one movie, then, he wanted more of this, and they wrote him off, which was okay with me. I didn't see him as Rhodey anyway, but that's besides the point. Iron Man was the catalyst for the MCU, and he started it all. And we got the end credit of Nick Fury, played by Samuel L. Jackson, coming in and saying the Avengers Initiative. I remember that scene and I was like, oh my God, there's going to be so much more. And I'm excited about it, and let's all not forget, Marvel's the main reason for why we sit through credits now. Count how many times on your hands you actually sat through the credits for a movie to see if there's an end credit. Not much. Now, everybody sits through like a comic book movie to see if there's gonna be any like end credit surprises. And we got that with Iron Man. Iron Man started it off. We got to see the Mark 1, the Mark 2, and of course the Mark 3. I love the fact that they were very comic book accurate. And then for me, in my mind, I really wanted to see how practically they were going to put a man in this Iron Man suit, and it was not disappointed. Him suiting up for the first time in the Mark 3, oh my God, it was one of my favorite parts of the entire movie. Watching him comic book accurate, in the caves for the first time, having the arc reactor in his chest, creating the first Mark 1, then going to testing the Mark 2, which will then become War Machine suit. I thought it was just well put together movie, and it was like the first launching pad for the MCU, and that's why it gets number 1 for me. But that's my top 10. I hope you all thoroughly enjoyed it. In the comment section, let me know what your top 10 are, because I'm pretty sure everyone's top 10 choices are differently, but this is my top 10, and I've watched all these movies numerous times, even the ones I really particularly didn't like, but I watched them anyway. But again, in the comment section, let me know what you like. But thank you all again for watching my first official video. Again, please like and subscribe and share. I hope you all enjoyed it. Leave your comments down below on what other top 10s or anything else you want me to talk about. But again, this is Thoughts of a King. It's been a wrap. See you next time.